Ben Earl, man of the match against Ireland, folks. Was he out of line to take a shot at some of England's critics? Well, there's certainly one fella who thinks he was. We'll go through what has been kind of said in the build-up to that game and some of the reaction to it. You guys can let us know your thoughts on Ben Earl's comments. If you missed it, prior to the match, there were a few people calling out this England squad, or this England side under Steve Borthwick, for basically not being very good. I mean, David Campese talked about England having a snore-fest approach and couldn't see any England player getting into the current Irish side. Now, I think if you'd asked most people which of the English players you would put into the Irish side as a replacement, I don't think many of us would have picked many of those England players, to be fair. Based on form, it'd be a pretty bold pick to do it before that result at the weekend, but that's what was said. Jamie Heaslip said that England needed Ireland to go down to 14 or 13 players to have a chance to win. And Ronan O'Gara was asked if England could cause chaos in the Ireland ranks, and he said, "I don't see it. The level of English rugby has gone very, very low. Saracens aren't nearly extinct, but they're dying in front of us." So, yeah. No one was really talking up England in the build-up to this game, put it that way. Now, Ben Earl, upon winning the game and getting that Man of the Match award, talked about being a bit emotional. He talked about Jamie George losing his mum and Danny Kere's 100th cap, but then also added some of the crap that's been thrown at this team over the last week. Apparently, we are the worst England team ever. We've done pretty well for that accolade. So, yeah, clearly some of the negative press which has been going around has made its way to Ben Earl's ears and the rest of his teammates. Now, to be honest, I don't think anyone was saying they're the worst team ever, but certainly they weren't getting praised. Personally, I found some of the criticism a bit too much. Like, I remember we did the old rugby rankings for last week when England had or the week before, when they'd lost to Scotland. And there was outrage that Scotland was still below England in the world rankings. But realistically, it wasn't that long ago that England had made a World Cup semi-final, third place, and almost made a final. World rankings don't change kind of at the drop of a hat. So, yeah, the talk of England's demise was maybe a bit exaggerated, but admittedly, you judged on your most recent results, and England hadn't played well up at Murrayfield, so maybe that was fair. But then we get Clive involved. Clive Woodward, everyone's favourite media pundit. Clive, in his column in the Daily Mail, which I have never read before, I don't think, but I did have a look at what he had to write this time because I wanted to see what he'd said about Ben Earl. And he said he didn't like seeing a number of them hit back at the media in the post-match interviews. Ben Earl was one to criticise the England coverage received after their Scotland defeat. That's not what champion teams or champion individuals do. Now, what you should do is what Clive says, because Clive knows all. He says they should ignore the media or just see criticism as positive feedback, like I did. See, Clive knows the way. Earl's comments that apparently we are the worst England team ever and we have done pretty well for that accolade were not needed and detracted from the team's performance and his own, which was outstanding. So there's a wee bit of praise for his performance, but a bit of criticism for the way he conducted himself during the post-match interview. He said, "I don't think anyone in the press has called England's current crop the worst in the country's history. England's players have to accept that if they play poorly, as they did in Edinburgh, they will be criticised. It's part of playing at the highest level. I also think England shouldn't just take aim at the media as a collective. If a player or coach has a grievance with what a journalist has written, then name them directly." And remember, it comes back to Clive, because if that's me, then I'm absolutely fine with that. So, yeah. I mean, to put my own biases out there, I find it hard to believe Clive Woodward even watched any games, because it's hard to view rugby matches when you've got your head that far up your own backside. But I do get where he's coming from a little bit, and that the players maybe should be above that kind of thing. But personally, watching the post-match interview with Ben Earl, and watching the way those guys celebrated. I loved every second of it. I loved the drama. I loved the emotion. I love seeing him have a wee hit back at the people who've been criticising him. There's nothing sweeter than when someone has written you off and you just shove it right back in their faces. I think it's good for the game. I know rugby sometimes gets a bit hoity-toity about kind of, we're above every other game, rugby values and all that jazz. Come on, man. That's pure drama, pure human emotion. It's great. Media often writes articles which are a bit kind of sensationalized because that gets more attention. Well, if that gets back to the players, maybe they should ignore it. But sometimes if they give a little hit back, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, there's a bit made of the Borthwick and Andy Farrell kind of spat in the tunnel or, going into halftime. I love that as well. It means there's emotion on the line. It means something to these guys. It shouldn't just be kind of blasé and, emotionless. It's rugby. You're playing for your nation. You're supposed to want to win and you're supposed to want to prove your doubters wrong and all that jazz. I mean, there's been other players who've done it. Sam Cane hit back at his detractors for a while when he was, the All Blacks captain. Some of the All Blacks guys stood up for their coach Ian Foster during that time about kind of some of the unfair things that were being written. Warren Gatland did the kind of clown nose thing to the New Zealand media who were being outrageous during that Lions tour of 2017. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with it. I think it's good. Good on you, Ben Earl. I loved every second of it. And, should we just do what Clive does? Personally, he's entitled to his opinion, but I'm going to just respectfully disagree with that one. I do see where he's coming from, genuinely, but I'm all right. Thanks, Clive. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.